Okay, moving on to part two. Let's take a look at the slab tool next. So the slab tool, same information on the info box are very similar, really geometry method being the most critical piece right here. So with geometry method, you really only have three options with the slab. It's either polygon, just like with the wall, and again, the delete key versus the escape key. Delete key is going to cancel the last placed node, and escape is going to cancel the whole placement. You can place a rectangular slab, or go back here, you can place a rotated rectangle. And with any of these, you can use the tracker palette right here. And again, Shift R is to lock to a radius, or lock to an angle rather, and then input a radial distance, so 25. For example, with the square rectangular method, you can actually direct input X and Y coordinates. So if you know that your slab is X 20 feet and Y 30 feet, you can input that directly into the slab settings. Additionally, if you have geometry already placed, in the case of these walls, for example, you can hold space and that activates the magic wand and click on the reference line of that slab, or sorry, of those walls, and it will automatically place it to that reference line. That's particularly useful if you're using slabs to model things like paths and roadways and things that need to have tangential curves, and the spline is really the best tool, the ideal tool at making those tangential curves, for example. So if I just place a spline right here, and then if we have a driveway that's maybe 10 feet wide, I'm going to activate the offset command on the pet palette here, and then type option. That offsets a copy of this over, and I can say that this is 10 feet wide. Now if I take my slab tool and hold down space, it'll sometimes find the area. Sometimes you have to actually apply end caps onto these. It does prefer an enclosed geometry sometimes. And now I can just hold down space and click on that, and I get a nice slab with a tangential curve. It is possible to create curves with the slab tool right from scratch, but they're very rarely tangential. If we ever figure out why that magic wand is glitching out on me, there we go. As an example, if I grab this polygon method right here, the pet palette that pops up after I start drawing, same as with the walls, I can start to create some curves, but as you can see, they really don't like to be tangential. I get these kind of sharp points right here that the spline tool helps me to alleviate. So that's a quick tip on modeling some nice fluid curves with the slab tool. If we look at what the slab tool settings are, similar to with the wall tool, if I go to the settings, again, Command T is the shortcut for that. I have reference plane as opposed to reference line. Just like with the wall tool, we probably want to use a composite, even if it is just a basic, say, 4 or 6 inch concrete slab. And here I have ceilings, I have concrete slabs, I have floors, and I have roofs. It's important to note that the tool that you're using, the name of that tool, i.e. slab tool, wall tool, beam tool, column tool, the tool is not restricted to just modeling those elements. That's the name of the tool, but they can be used to model any number of things. For example, the roof tool is great for modeling sloped garage slabs, sloped porches and patios and decks, sloped ceilings and shower pans and things like that can all be modeled with the roof tool. The slab tool is always parallel and horizontal surfaces on its extrusion for its reference plane. So it's well suited to flat floors, stair landings, ceiling planes, things of that nature. And they're always extruded based on a reference plane. So if we have a subfloor here, for example, the reference plane can be the top of the slab, the bottom of the slab, the top of the slab core, just like we looked at with the walls where it had the core reference line, and the bottom of the core. At Walker Warner in particular, we are modeling to the face of finish of the slab. So we do want to show that slab at the top of the finish. Then its height to project 0 or home story, current story, is 0. If it's a split level, it can be above or below that, but the reference plane from slab to slab is always the top of slab. The slab gives us more options in terms of what stories we show it on, which is really useful for partial stories, for landscape elements, for landings, stair components, things like that. We could show it home story 1 story up, home story 1 story down, all stories. There's also ways to show it on custom stories, so you can kind of filter out which stories this shows on, which is very useful. The slab has the classifications and properties again. Here we want to classify this as a slab. Pretty simple and straightforward right there. Element ID, I didn't mention this before, but it's less critical for slabs. For walls, we do tag walls by element ID, so that can be useful. And then we have our layer settings right here. So that's all we have within the slab tool. It's pretty simple. There are other pet palette options for the slab. Like we looked at before, you can offset edges, you can copy and offset edges, you can subtract out geometries from that slab, and this pulls from the geometry method here. So this works really well for creating stair landings. So we could say we have stair openings within the floor. So we say we have a stair opening of 10 feet in the X direction, Y negative maybe 18 feet or something, and then we get our stair opening. That stair opening or that puncture within the slab can be selected as a separate geometry and moved, drug around, offset edges and select nodes, create curves. The pet palette's pretty useful and versatile for the slabs. You can also select an individual segment of the slab and redefine the edge settings for that. That could be edge angles if you're using the slab for like a turned down slab edge or footing, or some kind of ramped edge. You can also define the surface edge of that slab to be overridden independently of the rest of the surface edges. The surface overrides here, similar to the wall tool, top surface, bottom surface, and edge surface can all be set independently. And then again, the global control with the composite settings right there. If we look at this in 3D now, so we have a slab and some walls together. Those slabs, walls relate to each other in a very specific way. So if this slab is partially up, it's drawn to the face of stud. If we look at that in section now, we will see those slabs and walls clean up together thanks to the relationship of the building materials. I'm going to go ahead and dump a section through here and show you that really quickly. So we'll just place a section marker and right click it and open with the current view settings, and we should be able to see those walls in that slab clean up perfectly. So we have the ceiling and the gypboard coming together here. The core of the wall is intersecting and meeting with the subfloor of the slab, and everything else is being canceled out by building materials. If the slab were to move over, then we see the full slab uncropped.